September 3rd, and Zeb and I were starting things off bright and early this morning. You know, just recapping the last week, I finally went out and I finally got the large chunk of my cameras out. And this year I'm trying to make a really big push. Ever since I was a little kid, I grew up hunting on this piece of public. I've mentioned it multiple times back home. And this year I've made a really big push to get cameras out, do a lot of scouting, and so far this morning I just got off the phone with Colin. Zeb's showed me a photo this morning on the way back from breakfast, and there was a good buck, a buck that we knew from last year. He's a 4-year-old last year, 5-year-old this year, but a good buck nonetheless. Finally starting to see familiar faces show back up this week, and I believe the main reason we're starting to see that, one, we're coming out of a really big temp drop. Temps were in the 90s, super humid last week, and now we're in the low 50s at night, and we're starting to see better movement. We've had a lot of moisture this year. Deer seem to be spread out a little bit more than normal. It's been tough to find them this summer, but they're starting to strip their velvet. Actually, Zeb and I were just talking too. Had a really nice 3-year-old on this work to permission farm on the camera hitting a vine scrape yesterday. He's in the same shot in the same photo this morning. He stripped all of his fuzz. So things are starting to get serious over here, but we're down on all these farms that I work on. We're on a client's piece right now, and we're overlooking a rut greens food plot right next to drove corn. This plot turned out awesome. I didn't use any big equipment for the brassica portion of this plot. All I did was come in here, spray Roundup and clethodim, and came back probably 2 weeks later, burnt it off, and broadcasted back into it. I burnt all that thatch off of this field that had quite a bit, and last year I tried broadcasting into it, and a lot of that thatch tied up those seeds. They didn't end up germinating, and we're going to see a little bit of that later on today. I want to show you guys all these plots that I've done. I want to show the mistakes, I want to show the successes, but I also want to share why maybe there was a mistake in this plot and how we're going to rescue that plot later on in September. So let's get after it. So we just took a little drive over to the work for permission farm. Hunted this farm from November to late season last year, and I think this year, you know, we're going to do quite a bit of hunting back here as well, but I wanted to make sure that I had a couple new plots in here. And this plot that we're at here, this is a no-till plot. We just showed you guys another no-till plot at the beginning, so let's stay on the no-till train, and I want to show you guys a really good experiment that a lot of you guys can take away from this and apply it to your permission farms, to your farms, to wherever. So I came in here, I sprayed this plot, I burnt the plot after 2 weeks, and then I came back and broadcasted. No heavy equipment whatsoever. And what I'm noticing coming in here today, I'm noticing that in the areas that I did burn, 100% germination, the plants look great. In areas of the plot where that fire did not carry because there wasn't enough fuel, the seeds came up, but it's a lot less further along than the areas that is burned. So I planted this plot the same day as a plot that is probably a few hundred yards away from us right now. Same bottom ground, same soil types. Let's go check how this plot compares to that plot. So this plot we just rode over, this plot was sprayed and planted on the same day as that plot we just came from. This is another no-till plot. You can see I didn't burn it in here. That's the only difference between this plot and where we just came from. And I can see there are seeds that are germinated. They're coming up. They're just way further behind than that plot that we burned over there. So looking into next year, I need to make sure that I'm burning all this thatch off my plots. I'm not having any kind of weed problems. So far it looks like in these plots where I have burnt, so I know I can get away with that, especially this late in the summer. But you know, now I have to think about, okay, how do I come in here and rescue this plot? These plants are so small right now, they're probably not going to amount to enough forage for this to be a consistent plot. So Monster Buck makes a mix called No Huddle. It's specifically designed for last second, late in the year plot where you messed up or a plot failed, come back in here and rescue it. But if I'm going to do that, what I know I have to do on this plot, after looking at that plot, I have to come in here and burn this first. So I have to put that onto the list later this week. But I don't know, that's one of the cool experiments that I figured out this year is, sure, some thatch is okay, you can retain soil moisture, but this year we've had plenty of moisture, and gosh, the stuff that didn't get burned, it just doesn't look as good as the stuff that was. So we got a couple more for you. We're gonna look at drilled plots, and we're gonna look at tillage plots that were broadcasted as well. So we're gonna do some tillage plots here next. I put a couple 1-plot ASAP plots in. They look phenomenal. So let's go look at those real quick. All right, we took a little poke over here, back on a client's piece, but I had 3 plots that I did exactly like this one that's back behind me, and they all look phenomenal this year. What I did is I came in here, I sprayed, I burnt 2 weeks after, and then I came in with a tractor and a disc and I worked this soil. Now when I came in here and worked this soil, I noticed there was a lot of clumps in there, and I didn't want to work it too hard and lose a bunch of moisture. So what I did was I came in here with a cultipacker and I rolled this dirt before I seeded anything. The reason being is there was a lot of trenches in that worked dirt. I didn't want seeds getting 2, 3, 4 inches under the top layer of that soil, because if they're buried that low, they're not going to germinate, they're not going to push through. So after I cultipacked that first time, came back, broadcasted, cultipacked again. That way I'm pushing these seeds down into the soil a little bit. They're probably at a 1/4 inch at that point, maybe a 1/2 inch. And I mean, you guys can see the results behind me. It turned out great. This is 1-plot ASAP. Back behind me, you can see the mixed in oats. That's the grasses that are coming up. But I really liked how this plot turned out. All 3 turned out amazing. And it's something I'm definitely gonna try again and again as the years goes on. But I've got some, back over on this farm, I drilled a bunch of cave-in rock and RC Big Rock from Monster Buck as well. This stuff has been in the ground for about 1 year and 3-4 months. I'm really excited about how it turned out. Let's go take a peek at that real quick. I just want to kind of show you guys what your stand can look like just after 1 year. You can make a big drastic change by adding switchgrass on your farm. So let's go take a peek real quick. So this is cave-in rock right here. This is 1 year. It's already as tall as the Can-Am here. So this was an old cattle pasture. What we did, we came in here, sprayed it off, killed it with some residual, came in with the Great Plains drill, the 10-06, filled it up with seed, and went to town. All this seed was at a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch depth. This is a cave-in rock at 2 to 3 pounds, and RC Big Rock at 1 pound, I believe. 3 to 4 pounds to the acre. Gosh, it looks thick and nasty. I mean, if we can hide a big old Can-Am out here, I'm sure a big old buck can hide somewhere too. So before we transfer things into the drilled portion of the plots, I wanted to talk about a failure that I had this year. I'm sitting in a stand of Monster Buck plot screen. This is all different types of sorghum and Indian grass, but my process for this year, it was last minute, to be honest with you guys. I came in here, I sprayed this off, and I came in and I dissed it, and I was so close to a rain window, I didn't have time to let these weeds come back up and kill them. If you look down into this sorghum, there's a lot of grass that came back up through this, a lot of foxtail. And that's why this plot screen, it should be well over my head. There are points in here where it did reach that. But it had so much competition with the weeds, since I just dissed, that reignited a bunch of weeds to come back through it. And as this germinated, those weed seeds germinated along with it. So it had it stunted for a good chunk of time, and that's why this only reached about 5-6 foot. Still got to fertilize it. I did that, and I think that helped promote a little bit more growth than if I didn't. But you got to make sure after you diss something, you're spraying afterwards. Next year, when I'm doing plot screen, here's a reminder for myself, I need to spray after I'm done disking. So we just came down to the Work for Permission farm. I've got another plot over here, and this is a prime example of a perfect drilled plot. You know, last year I ran into several problems. It was 2nd or 3rd year running the drill. I never had a problem with row crop, but these smaller seeds, I was having problems getting good germination. I think it was very variable because I wasn't getting my coulters all the way up. I was kind of relying on just watching the coulters as I was drilling to make sure they were at that 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. But this year I used a socket set to make sure I had it all the way up, and holy smokes, you guys, it made a night and day difference. If you look through this plot, you darn near can't even tell that it's drilled. This is all these plots that we're showing you guys, they were all planted on relatively the same 3-day interval, and they all got rain at the same time as well. But this plot is much further along, in my opinion, than the other plots that we've looked at so far. The reason being, we're putting that seed directly into the soil. It's right at a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch is where we're putting it at, and it's taking it off from there. Another thing that I want to mention, that both of these examples that I'm talking about, how I fixed these two things, are why everything looks so good for me this year. But this is probably just as important as the coulters. I started using a food scale instead of a scale that's probably not as accurate for those smaller weights. These small seeds, when you're calibrating a drill, it's really tough to get. You need to get it all the way down to an ounce and then do that math and transfer it over to pounds. But after using that scale that can calculate a much smaller weight, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, I was very, very precise with my seed rates. Last year had a couple problems with seed rates. This year didn't have a single problem as far as the drill goes. I finally wrote down all the correct seed rates and settings that I need to put on the Great Plains drill when I am seeding. But my 2 takeaways: make sure your coulters are all the way up. If you're having to hit that 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, use a socket set to get it all the way up, get that knob turned all the way on that Great Plains drill, and then use a food scale instead of like a fish scale, normal scale you'd step in on your bathroom. Don't use that. Use a food scale. It's much more precise, and when you're putting seeds down, 5,000 seeds per acre could be a really big difference, and that's what, maybe like a pound of seed. So looks awesome though. Can't wait to shoot some does over it. All right, we're gonna wrap things up on this plot here. I'm really excited about this plot. This is rut greens where I'm standing. This is drilled rut greens, and this plot is a prime example that you can put seed mixes in the back of your drill and they can come out just fine even though you have different seed sizes in there. So looking at this plot, I burnt this. Sorry, backing up. I sprayed this, I burnt it, and then I came in here and I drilled it. And the reason that I burnt it was because there was just so much thatch. I was a little bit worried about there being too much thatch on top, those seeds pushing through. On the back half of this plot, let's go check this out really quick. I put a different mix over here, but I did not burn this portion. I haven't been over here in a little bit, so let's check it out. Let's see what it looks like. Not seeing any fertility problems. See any leaves that are yellowing or purple or anything?
Not from where I can see.
So purple leaves would be a phosphorus deficiency. If we're starting to see yellow out in our plots, that's going to be a nitrogen deficiency. So you want to hit it with 46-00 NPK, the first number, like for 4600, the first number is nitrogen. Next number is phosphorus, and the last number is potassium. So if you're seeing a phosphorus deficiency in your field, you're gonna have purple leaves. The middle number is phosphorus in 4600. So there's 0 phosphorus in 4600. But say we have 13, 13, 13. We have 13% or 13 pounds of phosphorus. We have 13 pounds of phosphorus in there, but we also have 13 pounds of nitrogen, and we have 13 pounds of potassium. So if you want to get the correct rate, if we're putting 13 pounds and we want to put 13 pounds on there, you actually have to put 2 bags of fertilizer. That's how you would, I guess, get your poundage rate. That was a lot of talking, wasn't it? That was bad. Hopefully it works somewhat. A lot of canola out here. So this is canola out in this plot. It's coming up decent. but there's a lot of weeds coming up through here. It's actually really funny. I didn't burn this portion, and there's more weeds coming up in this than over here where I did burn. That's interesting to know. But there's still plenty of canola coming up here. There's a lot of weeds. This is one that I'm probably gonna watch for the next couple weeks. So by mid-September, if this doesn't look like it's gonna produce enough tonnage, or maybe a certain side of the plot is not gonna produce enough tonnage, I still have plenty of time. I can take cereal grains all the way into mid-October. You can take them all the way into November. I wouldn't recommend it. A lot of guys do that for cover crop here in Iowa, but if I'm gonna come in here, I'm probably gonna rip this soil and I'm gonna broadcast into here so I get a blanket. You can also come in here with a drill and put that in. That'll come up nice. It'll look like a carpet. But I don't know, that's a little bit of plot rescue there. I don't think we're gonna have to rescue this one, but man, it's blowing my mind that there's so many weeds in this portion of the plot where I didn't burn versus where I burnt. So that is something that I'll have to write in my notebook and remember over the years. But that's pretty much gonna wrap stuff up for today. That pretty much covers all the food plot mistakes that I've ran into this year, the successes that I found. Just overall, I think it's really positive. The biggest takeaway from this that I think you guys should take away is keep track of the positives and the negatives, not just food plots, but just anything deer hunting in general. That way you keep track over the years. Okay, I made this mistake last year. How am I gonna fix it? This is how I can fix it, kind of deal. But you know, later tonight, I think we might try to get an eyeball on one of these bucks that it's been showing up on camera. I don't have a target per se so far for the year, but that's gonna change here quickly. All right, see you guys tomorrow. All right, we are headed out and do a little coyote hunting. Last night I was looking at the cameras. We had a picture in an alfalfa field that drilled a couple years back, and it's freshly cut. They just baled it, and last night there were 6 or 7 coyotes out there in front of this camera. So I'm assuming it's a bunch of pups with their parents. Normally the pups this time of year are really easy to call in, so we're gonna try probably fauna stress and sit in the redneck. We got a good wind tonight before the spot anyways, but redneck will help conceal that scent even more if they do come downwind, which is quite often the case. So see if we can't get a little birdie this afternoon. I think we should get there in decent time. It's 6:30 right now. 5 more minutes driving puts us at 6:38. 22 minutes to walk in. 10 minutes to set up. Puts us what? About 7:10, 7:15. Start calling at 7:20, 7:30. Gets dark at 8:10. Some good math there. We're feeling dangerous. What were we talking about yesterday? We're feeling froggy.
Yeah, feeling froggy.
Feeling froggy, baby. So we're just getting over to a client's piece. Last night I saw a bunch of coyotes on camera over here, so we're gonna go try and manage the population before season hits and they start harassing our deer. But last night we tried going velvet filming, didn't see a whole lot. Got to watch a couple does feed on the old rut green spot. But I don't know. Let's go see if we can put some fur down. Grab the gun. My dad's is a hand-me-down. My dad, he was wanting to get into coyote hunting. He coyote hunted about twice, and then he gave it up, gave this gun to me. It's an old 243, bunch of chief hair on it. Let's go put it to work. Sitting in that blind over there, that redneck. I'm gonna go set this call up about 50 to 100 yards out here. If you want to hop up in there,
I'll meet you up there, okay?
Gotcha.
That's what we're trying to save right there. There's a fawn about. There she's walking towards me. Hopefully we can clean up the coyote population. We just got set up, overlooking an alfalfa field. We got CRP timber all around us. Good cover. We've got, looking at Onyx, we've got a south wind here. It's a perfect wind for this set. We're facing directly to our south right now, so the wind's in our face. More than likely, these coyotes are probably going to circle downwind, so they might come down to our left, but more than likely, they should come out front just because it's a big open field. But I'm probably going to go straight into a fawn distress. I'll run that for like 10-15 minutes, on and off. If that doesn't call him in, I'll probably go straight to pup distress. I normally don't mess around with that many coyote vocals this time of year. That's more of a February, March kind of thing. But we got some does out here. There was a nice buck out here when we showed up. Hopefully, with any luck, we can clean up this coyote population on this farm. Big old hands. Right here. Tell me when you're on him. Tell me when you're on him. Yeah. Woo! Woo! Stop. Got it. What a fun way to wrap up the afternoon. We started with those fawn distresses, like we talked about, and blended into some coyote vocals. Ended up calling that dog in with a pup distress. That, I don't know what it is. It seems like there's a lot of people that call nowadays, and You know, I call a lot of dogs in on that fawn distress, but it seems like, boy, when you start playing that pup distress, get the gun ready because they're gonna come steaming in. Sure enough, that dog came in hot. I just couldn't get him stopped soon enough to get a shot off. So we're gonna have to go back out later this week and try and get another one. I've been telling Zeb over here about coon calling too. We might have to try that too. Iowa's got a year-round season for coon now, so they're pretty fun to trap, but to call in more than anything. So pretty much wraps it up for the day. It was fun to see those does come in like that. But yeah, on to the next day tomorrow. Living the dream, baby. Cody, what's going on, man?
Well, it's pretty nice weather up here. How about down there?
Beautiful out. It's 70s, low 70s up here. The bucks are stripping fuzz. Life's good, man. Well, hey, I got a question for you. I'm sitting in a beautiful plot of Eagle seed beans. I want to say these are that, it's something lad, right?
Large lad.
Large lad. They're just, I did both varieties of that Eagle seed, but
Yep.
I saw that they're not putting pods on yet. They're just starting to flower. Well, are these forage beans? I can't remember. I could have swore I thought that these put pods on though.
Those are forage beans. How far south are you right now?
I'm in southern Iowa, right on the southern Iowa.
Down there with them.
That's what I figured. So I think some were starting to put on pods, but how long do these stay green for?
Like up by us, they stay green after the frost.
Really?
Yep.
Holy smokes. Will they stay green all the way till late season after you get snow, or?
There's a chance, like typically up here we've got snow over them, so we can't really see.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I gotcha.
But it is, I mean, the guys that use them love them.
That's what I've heard. That's why I wanted to try them really bad this year. All right, we're gonna go put some scrapes out today. We're gonna show you guys how I do my vine scrapes. I know I've mentioned it many times, but I get so many questions throughout the year. I just want to walk through one more time, beginning of the year. I promise it'll be the only time you guys see this. But we're gonna cover that first thing this morning. But I just got off the phone with Cody. He's an agronomist over at Monster Buck. Awesome guys over there, man. The seed is awesome. Everything came up awesome this year. But where I'm sitting right now, we're in a field of Eagle seed beans. These are forage beans, and I've been walking around the farm looking at these fields, and you know, I'm noticing they're just starting to flower, but I haven't really noticed any pods just yet. And these are forage beans. Like you guys just heard, Cody just mentioned that these beans, they can produce pods if you get them in early enough. And sure enough, Zeb and I just came and started looking in this field, and gosh, there's pods coming everywhere, you guys. We've been blessed with really good weather this year, a lot of rain, and I matched it up with putting these in early, put plenty of potash in here. It looks awesome. I cannot wait to get in here and hunt. The other thing that I'm really excited to see this year, I've never had beans that are green all the way till November and late season. He was talking about how those are gonna stay green after the first frost. I don't know exactly when that date is, but there is a lot of food out here, you guys. I don't know, you might think about trying Eagle seed beans next year. But if you look at how it looks when I'm walking out here, I mean, some spots, these beans are literally over my head. There is tons of not just cover, but food out here for these deer. So I think we'll be able to draw a couple in here. Let's go put this vine scrape up. I got an area where I prepped an equip project for this farm. Came in, pruned a bunch of cedars, opened up a little bit of light, and we're gonna put a vine scrape right on this opening. We'll check it out real quick. All right, this is that equip project that I've got prepped for next year. Came in here, pruned everything with the saw, then came back with the skid steer, broke everything up. But we're gonna talk about vine scrapes. Let's talk about the most important thing, and that's location. When I tell buddies about these vine scrapes, they go out, they try them, and you know, at first they're not working. Like, dude, not getting really any deer hitting the vine scrape whatsoever. Most times the case is that they don't have it in the right location. When I designed this plot, I wanted to make a funnel. If you look on the exterior of this field, it's a wall of cedars. They can't penetrate these cedars. They're not walking through here. They'd rather take the easiest route. This looks very inviting. This is going to be a nice pinch point. So when I'm talking about locations for making man-made scrapes, I only use vine scrapes now, personally. They hit them year round. When I'm thinking about locations, I'm looking for pinch points. This would be a pinch point here, but another great example of a pinch point would be a fence gap. And other good locations would be where multiple trails come together. You want to put these scrapes in areas where you got high traffic. That way you're getting the most pictures, the most intel. And if you put a vine scrape in that area and you use this product that I'm about to tell you guys about, we're not partnering with them, I'm not making any money off this product, you will get pictures year round on these scrapes. So let's start off by finding a vine. We've got a branch picked out here. Now there is a couple lower hanging branches right here. So I'm gonna prune these lower hanging branches. I want this vine to pop. So when they look over here, there's no other branches that they can make a scrape on. It's, oh, there's a vine sticking straight out in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna go rub my face on that, rub my orbital glands on that, and freshen up this scrape. Let everyone know I was here kind of deal. Gotta put your, gotta think like a deer sometimes, you know? So let's go find a vine real quick and we'll get after it. This vine doesn't know how lucky it is. Gonna have a bunch of big old Johns smoking it this year. All right. Just found this vine. This is a grapevine. There's multiple different kinds of vines, you guys. You want to make sure that you get the right species. I've only used grapevines. I have used, I'm not exactly sure what that vine's called, but there's really two vines that I see quite often here in Iowa. There's one that's a little bit more fuzzy, and then there's this one, which is more like I kind of relate it to like a shagbark consistently. A shagbark hickory, that wood's really flaky. This wood's really flaky and it holds scent really well. Let's get this hung up real quick. With the way I hang them up, I'm using zip ties. I do 2 zip ties on the top end, on a branch. And these deer, they play with them so hard. If you do not have a fresh vine like this, they're gonna snap them off. Say, wish I had a old vine to show you guys, but I have a couple of trail cam videos where these deer, they're raking them around like this, and they can break them off pretty darn easy when they get them stuck in their rack. So let's go get this hung up. Let's see how it looks real quick. Next part of the process is getting it at the right level. I should also mention I want a straight vine. I don't know why, but it just seems like they hit the straight vines a little bit better than the curved ones, and I get better pictures off them. But for getting the right level of the height, I want to have this vine in between probably about my waist and my knee. So I want it at about mid-thigh level. And one thing to keep in mind, if we're coming in here in the summer and hanging this vine, well, this red cedar is not going to lose its, would these be leaves or needles?
I think they're considered leaves.
Okay, they're not going to lose their leaves because it's a red cedar, but say other trees are going to lose their leaves. Take all that and acorns on them, or walnuts, or any kind of nut species. These branches, they're weighted down with all that leaves and all that extra weight on there with the nuts and everything. So with that branch being weighted down in the summer, you got to keep in mind, if we cut it at the right height in the summer, by the time the fall comes around, all the leaves are gone, all the nuts are gone, all that weight is off that branch is going to come back up and it's going to lift up. Now, if we get that vine at the right height in the summer months, it's not going to be the right height come fall. So these deer, say if you had it right here, if that vine is up to your chest, that's probably more than likely that it's probably going to move a foot or so. If it's 1 foot off, these deer are not going to hit it. I actually was talking to Colin, good buddy, he's on the show, he's up in Wisconsin. He tried doing these vines and he was like, dude, they just don't work. I don't know what I'm doing, but they're not working. I came over to Wisconsin. I'm hunting Wisconsin this year, and we put out some vine scrapes, And one thing that I noticed right away, he was hanging them right at about chest height. If you're hanging them at chest height, these deer aren't gonna hit it. Gotta hang it right in between like I was talking about. So not worried about the red cedars losing leaves or anything. This branch is gonna stay at the same height. So let's get it cut real quick. Oh yeah. Okay, so this vine's super low right now. Stand back up, I want it right about here. Go a little bit lower. We'll get right here. Nice and straight, and that's probably gonna start dripping water here soon because it's a fresh vine. That next part that I just did here, I cut all the other lower hanging branches. So now that this can pop, they can see it from a ways away and they can say, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go freshen that scrape real quick. It just pops, it makes it a little bit more inviting. And I don't want them hitting any of these other lower hanging branches. I want them hitting this because this is what my camera's running in front of. So the next part of this, if I'm in a timber setting and there's a bunch of green, there's a bunch of grass around me, there's not in this area, I'm gonna take a rake or my grass cutter, and I'm gonna hit some dirt right under the scrape. That way you have that fresh dirt smell, you have that visual effect as well. These vine scrapes, or scrapes and man-made scrapes in general, it's a lot like trapping. You're painting a picture out here for these animals. But the absolute most important step in these vine scrapes for getting these deer to hit them on a consistent basis, I mean, I can confidently say that this scrape's gonna get hit tonight. And the reason I know that is because I'm gonna dress it with cold blue rack rub. Everyone that I have been around, I have pushed this product. I'm shoving it down their throats, really. You know, it's actually really funny. I was talking to Colin the other day. He went out, put a couple vine scrapes up, and we didn't use that code blue. I forgot it when we went up on that Wisconsin trip. He put it out a vine after I showed him how to do it the right way, and he used the code blue. He says he's used other stuff, it hasn't worked, but he used the code blue and it brought deer to the scrape right away. So I don't know exactly what's in this. It's a pre-orbital, it's called a licking branch gel, but it's a pre-orbital gel. Interesting consistency, but all I'm doing, taking it out, I don't have to sugarcoat it or anything, but I'm just going all the way down, working it in that bark, all over. It's got a vanilla scent to it. It actually smells pretty darn good. But that's it right there. Guys, I've used all the scents out there. This is by far, this is the best. It's affordable, cheap, easy to use, store it in your fridge after you're done. It's good for, I don't know how long, but shoot, I've had it in the fridge for 6 months, and I'm sure there'll be a deer hitting it tonight. So, it pretty much wraps it up. I guess there's, I want to cover one more thing. I want you guys to understand how important it is to cut these lower hanging branches. Let's go over to this tree over here real quick, Zeb. Okay, we got an Osage tree here. Now, I don't have a stand down here hunting over that vine scrape, but I do have a stand right here in this cedar that overlooks these eagle seed beans, and looking for a location to either put a scrape post or a vine scrape. I'm a big advocate on these vine scrapes. I love them, you guys. They hit them year round. The licking branches per se, I don't get a lot of pictures on licking branches in the winter and the summer. But this tree is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, of kind of pruning it up. If we're gonna hang a vine, I'm probably gonna hang it right here. 20-yard pop shot right here out of this tree. But I need to take all of these branches off. It would take a lot of work, but once you do that, these deer, they're gonna scrape under this already. Actually, last year there was a heck of a scrape under this, but I just want one scrape. That way if I'm running a camera over it, or if a deer's walking by, I know exactly where he's gonna stop and everything. He's not gonna hit this, and where I don't have a perfect shot opportunity, maybe 5 yards down, my perfect shot opportunity is probably right in through here. Yep, right in through here. So I would prune all these branches, everything, all the way into the timber. I want nothing hanging down in this plot. and I'd hang that vine down right here. It's a little overkill. I know you guys probably think I'm crazy, but if you want consistency on your trail cameras, if you want year-round pictures on these vine scrapes, these are the steps that you have to do. They're the steps that I take and works for me, so pass it along. That pretty much wraps things up for what I wanted to talk about today. We're gonna trek out on later on tonight. Again, we need some redemption after last night, but I need to go, I'm just hanging cameras pretty much the next 2 weeks for guys, so I'm gonna go hang some cameras. Zebby's gonna get after it behind the computer. Catch up with you guys after lunch later on this evening.
Well, we didn't quite make it out last night. We got caught up with work. We did make it out, tried doing a little cruising. Man, the bucks have been sparse here recently. It seems like acorns are dropping. Row crop fields are starting to defoliate, starting to turn color, and these bucks are in height. And it seems like they're always putting the feed bag on this time of year, but you know, walking around the last couple weeks, I've been putting cameras up pretty hard, trying to look for sign. It seems like I'm kicking up a lot of bucks when I am scouting really close to water right now. So if you got cameras close to water, that's probably a hot spot, but we did make it out. We saw a couple though, but we're coming back for redemption tonight. Same wind as yesterday, so the spot that I wanted to get over here on, it'll still be prime wind for it. Another alfalfa field, and pretty much the same game plan. Just gonna try a few fawn distresses, and that was a yipping howl that I did right after that probably 10-12 minute series of fawn distresses, and then I stayed quiet for maybe 5-10 minutes there, and then I started going into a pup distress. It's really the sequence that I run from the springtime till about right now, once fawns start dropping, till deer season. So hopefully I can pull the trigger this time. I don't know what the heck I was doing last time. I need to get it together. All right, long walk. We'll see you at the vine. Backpack. Up to the command post. I've already had a little buck come out and greet us, but I wanted to mention yesterday, you know, I was walking around the timber, I was looking for sign, hanging cameras up. I found this fresh rub, and every year, the last couple of years, I've been finding this often. I looked right under that fresh rub, and what do you know, there's some fresh velvet stripped right there under it, so that was pretty cool to see. But I mentioned it earlier, I'm just going to run through that same sequence. Probably going to start at 7:30. Last 40 minutes left of daylight. Hopefully one comes out. You win some, you lose some. Fun night overall. Those deer kind of made it well worth it. But beautiful night. We could feel the temps dropping already. Tomorrow I want to put a water hole in. And I need to move some cameras. Seems like September, that's about all I do, but I do have a couple plots that I need to rescue. So tomorrow we're going to do some food plot rescue. I'm going to work some fields, so kind of talk about what you can throw out there this time of year. Some seeds are off the table as far as getting enough tonnage, making your seeds worth it. So we'll talk about specific seeds that you can be planting, mostly cereal grains, but we'll dip into that tomorrow. So we'll see you then. All right, so I'm thinking I'm gonna put it right here. I've got a fence gap that I cut right by this camera, and I've got another fence gap right here. And what I was thinking is if these deer are coming off this side of this draw, they can enter the plot right here. If they're coming from the south, they can enter the plot right here. So we're making a pinch point right here, but I was trying to decide if I want to put a scrape here or if I want to put a water hole. And I want to try a water hole just because there's not a lot of water in this area. But you know, I was talking with a lot of guys, and I've been thinking about how I can make a spot better for late season bow hunting. And an attractant that I was kind of thinking of is, what if I get a cattle heater in this tank on a battery? I cover that battery up with like a fake rock or something. That way I have an open water hole in a green transition to grain for late season. I gotta think that would be bulletproof. Even in November when these bucks are cruising down here, running all day, they're not really thinking about food, but say midday they come by, they get a quick drink of water and they go about their business. But we're gonna start digging. I gotta shovel it out. I don't wanna bring big equipment in here and ruin this plot whatsoever. It's so beautiful. It's been really fun watching it grow on this cuttyback back behind me. And this is overcast here. This is overcast for monster buck, and I would say that it turned out awesome. So let's go get the shovels, start digging. I wanna check the time. Let's see how long this takes me. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10:01 actually, but I started at 10. China, here we come. I like this shovel for carving around the edges. This shovel, I don't know my shovels very well, but this shovel's longer, straighter. This one is more curved, good for scooping all the dirt out. Sure, you guys know this, but I'm just trying to explain for more information. That way, when you come out here and make your water hole, you got everything you need. You don't have to make several trips. This is the one for scooping the dirt out. This is the one for carving it. Take two. Fits. Sweet. All right, that wraps it up. We started at 10 o'clock and it is 10:55 now. So it takes about an hour to get these water holes done. If we would have had the water ready, I'm sure it would take probably 10 minutes to fill it up. So we'll have to come back here with the water tank and the tractor and get it filled later on today. One thing I want to cover with these water holes, make sure you're putting a big stick or a log in there. That way, if you have a squirrel, if you have a rabbit or a coon, possum that falls into that water hole, they have a route or a way that they can get up out of that water hole, because I've heard of several people saying that they've had mice or maybe a rabbit or a squirrel fall in there. They end up dying and it ruins the water holes. So one thing I do also want to mention, we've got a bunch of loose dirt around this now. So if we want to maximize our tonnage per this plot, I'm going to come back in here with some cereal grains. I'll throw it around this water hole on this loose dirt. There's other patches in here back behind Zeb that are opened up, so we'll maximize their tonnage with cereal grains. That's about the only thing that you can plant this time of year, this late into the year. But that's a perfect little tidbit to open it up to the rest of today. We're gonna go rescue some plots. I'm gonna go hop in the tractor here and we're gonna get after it, start working some dirt. Well, plans ended up changing the other day. Tractor battery was dead. I must have left something on or something or another, but nonetheless, it's back up and rolling. So if food plot recovery is something that maybe you guys are interested in, we can tack that on to next week's video. I'm pretty much finalizing and making the final preparations right now for everything as far as work goes. So if you guys have any ideas or any topics that maybe you might find interesting or want me to cover next week, I think it'd be really fun to hit whatever you guys think might be interesting. So pretty much does it. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm excited for these weekly videos to start flowing here, and season's right around the corner.